It's funny how the little things we've loved all our lives can sneak up on us later. Take cheese, for example. Oh, cheese. It's been there through it all. The birthday parties, the backyard barbecues, the midnight fridge raids when you thought just one slice won't hurt. And then suddenly you hit your 60s and cheese, sweet, creamy, comforting cheese, starts acting like it's out to get you. Now, if you've noticed your stomach staging a protest after a grilled cheese, or your blood pressure creeping up even though you swear you haven't been adding salt to anything but popcorn, well, you're not imagining it. A lot of folks over 60 are starting to feel like their favorite foods are turning on them. And guess what? You're definitely not alone. That's exactly what we're talking about today, the 5 cheeses that may be doing more harm than good once you're over 60, and what you can reach for instead without giving up the joy of cheese. Because let's be honest, nobody wants to live in a world where cheese is off the menu entirely. That's just cruel. Now, before you go tossing everything in your fridge, take a breath with me. We're not about guilt here. This isn't one of those "you've been eating wrong your whole life" kinds of talks. Not at all. This is more like sitting down with a cup of tea and saying, hey, there might be a better way to feel good and still enjoy what you eat. Because here's the truth. Small changes can make a big difference, especially when it comes to how we feel every day. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Janice. She's 72 and still as sharp as a tack. But she started noticing that after her usual lunchtime ham and Swiss sandwich, she'd feel a little bloated, a little foggy. Nothing dramatic, just off. And she'd say, maybe it's just aging. But Janice is smart, and more than that, she's curious. So she started swapping things around, just to see. And wouldn't you know it? When she eased off the Swiss and tried a different cheese, the difference in how she felt was like night and day.
Turns out, not all cheeses are created equal, especially as our bodies change. Some are high in sodium, some pack a surprising amount of saturated fat, and others are just plain rough on digestion. The tricky part? These are often the very cheeses we've been eating forever, the ones that feel familiar, comforting, even a little nostalgic. But here's the good news. For every cheese that might be giving your heart, your bones, or your belly a hard time, there's usually a tastier, gentler cousin waiting to take its place. You don't have to give up flavor. You don't have to settle for bland. You just have to know where to look, and that's what we're here for. Think of this as a little cheese makeover. Not a diet, not a lecture, just a loving nudge to say, hey, maybe this way is even better. Because food isn't just fuel, it's memory, it's pleasure, it's connection. And after 60, you deserve food that treats you right. So whether you're the type who still makes a perfect omelet every Sunday morning, or you've got a stash of cheddar cubes you nibble on during your evening stories, stick with me. We're about to look at which cheeses might be quietly causing more trouble than they're worth, and which ones can help you feel good without missing out on taste. And let me just say, some of these might surprise you. Don't go anywhere. This next part is where it starts to get really interesting. All right, let's get into the thick of it, shall we?
Now, I know some folks might say, cheese is cheese. How bad can it be? And if you're anything like my Uncle Roy, who used to pile a mountain of blue cheese onto his baked potato and call it medicine, I get the hesitation. Cheese has character. It's got personality, but some of that personality can be, well, a little rough around the edges when you hit a certain age. Let's start with one that's sneaky, American cheese. Yep, the same one that melts so perfectly on burgers and gives grilled cheese that dreamy stretch. But here's the thing, it's not even really cheese. It's more of a cheese product made with a mix of milk, fats, and additives that your body might not love as much as your taste buds do. It's ultra-processed, and that means it usually comes with a boatload of sodium and saturated fat. My friend Harold, 68, retired firefighter, stubborn as a mule, he used to eat 2 slices of American cheese on toast every morning, said it was efficient breakfasting. Then he had a checkup, and his doc gently suggested looking into his salt intake. "Salt intake?" he said. "I barely touched the shaker." But guess what? That innocent-looking slice of cheese was hiding more salt than he ever guessed. Now he switched to a soft goat cheese spread on whole grain toast. Still tasty, still satisfying, just doesn't fight back at his arteries before noon. And then there's blue cheese. Oh, that bold, funky, delicious crumble. I get it. It brings a salad to life. But blue cheese is high in saturated fat, and for anyone keeping an eye on cholesterol or blood pressure, it can be a bit of a troublemaker. Plus, some folks find it harder to digest as they age. Our stomachs aren't the steel traps they used to be, and strong mold-ripened cheeses can stir up a bit of a storm down there. I remember when my cousin Ellie brought out a blue cheese tray during her bridge night. She said it was for sophistication. Half the table loved it. The other half spent the next morning drinking peppermint tea and avoiding sudden movements. So now Ellie keeps a wedge of low-sodium feta on hand. Still tangy, still fancy, but easier on the system. And you know what? Her bridge group hasn't complained since.
Now, here's one that might really hurt. Processed cheese slices, the kind wrapped in plastic and perfect for a quick sandwich. They've been a household staple since the 50s, right? But they're not doing us any favors. They're often packed with emulsifiers, preservatives, and coloring agents that our bodies can have a harder time breaking down as we age. And with all that processing, the actual nutritional value gets kind of lost in the shuffle. But before you feel too bummed out, here's the bright side. This isn't about giving things up. It's about finding cheeses that love you back, that support your bones, your heart, your digestion, all while tasting just as good, if not better, than the ones we've leaned on for decades. And let me tell you, once you find the right swaps, it's like discovering a new favorite chair. It fits just right, and you wonder why you didn't try it sooner. So if your stomach's been grumbling more than usual, or your blood pressure's creeping up even though you're cutting back on the chips, don't overlook what's hiding between your crackers and that little butter knife. Sometimes it's the smallest habit that makes the biggest difference. Stick with me, friend. We've got a few more cheeses to watch out for, and even better options you won't want to miss. Now, we've already chatted about a few of the usual suspects, those processed, salty, or just too heavy cheeses that might have been staples once, but don't quite play nice anymore. And if you're starting to eye your fridge thinking, is everything in here out to get me? Take heart. We're not finished, and I promise the good news is coming. But first, let's talk about a cheese that sounds healthy until it isn't. Cheddar.
I know. That one hurts. Sharp cheddar, aged cheddar, extra mature cheddar. It's bold, it's crumbly, it's practically the Elvis of the cheese drawer. And for many of us, it's been a lifelong companion. Whether it was in your childhood lunchbox or melted on top of a casserole at every church potluck, cheddar has been there. But here's the catch. As cheddar ages, it tends to become higher in saturated fat and sodium. And unfortunately, that's a double whammy when you're over 60 and trying to keep your heart and blood pressure in check. It also lacks the beneficial bacteria that are present in less aged, softer cheeses, the kind that help with digestion and gut health. Now, I'm not saying you have to throw it all out. I wouldn't dream of coming between a person and their cheese, but maybe, just maybe, save the extra sharp for a special treat and lean into something a little friendlier for everyday snacking. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's 74, used to be a school librarian, and has a sense of humor so dry it could crack a sidewalk. Margaret's always had a thing for cheese cubes in the afternoon. But when her doctor gently suggested watching her cholesterol, she was not thrilled. "I'm 74, she said. At this point, cheese is a basic right." Still, she agreed to try switching to part-skim mozzarella, just for a week. And do you know what happened? Not only did her numbers improve, but she said she actually felt lighter. Her knees didn't ache quite as much going up the stairs, and, her words, not mine, the bathroom became a more pleasant place. Mozzarella is one of those underappreciated cheeses. It's lower in sodium and saturated fat, and if you go for the fresh, soft kind, the little white balls packed in water, it's actually rich in moisture and easier to digest. Plus, it pairs beautifully with tomatoes and basil, which means suddenly your afternoon snack looks like something from a fancy cafe.
And while we're here, we have to mention Parmesan. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't Parmesan salty? And you'd be right. But here's the twist. A little goes a long way. Because it's aged and packed with flavor, you don't need to use as much. And get this, good quality Parmesan is naturally lactose-free and full of calcium and protein. So if your digestion has been a bit finicky, but you still want a sprinkle of something savory on your pasta or soup, Parmesan can be your golden ticket, as long as you don't drown your dish in it like it's snowing in December. And you know what I love about this whole cheese journey? It's not about restrictions. It's about discovering new favorites. Because once you start paying attention to how food makes you feel, not just how it tastes, something wonderful happens. You wake up with more energy. You don't feel so sluggish after meals. Your joints thank you. And sometimes, your doctor does too. So, no, we're not giving up cheese. Not even close. We're just inviting the right ones to the party. And trust me, the next one on our list might just surprise you. Stick around. This last part is where everything clicks. Now we're really getting to the good stuff, the part where the cheese guilt melts away, and we bring in the stars of the show, the cheeses that can actually help you feel better in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Let's start with a little something creamy, mild, and surprisingly kind to your body, ricotta. Now I know, ricotta might not be the flashiest cheese in the fridge. It doesn't have that dramatic bite like cheddar or the strong personality of blue cheese. But don't let that fool you. Ricotta is like that quiet neighbor who always waves, always remembers your birthday, and once lent you a book that actually changed your life. Made from whey, the leftover liquid from other cheese-making processes, ricotta is high in protein and calcium, but naturally lower in fat, especially if you go for the part-skim version. It's soft, gentle on the stomach, and doesn't pack the sodium punch that other cheeses do. And it's so versatile. Spread it on toast with a little drizzle of honey, mix it into scrambled eggs, or even add it to pancakes for a creamy twist. It's the kind of cheese that plays nice with others, and with your body.
And speaking of playing nice, let's not forget cottage cheese. Now, I know some people have feelings about cottage cheese. It's got that lumpy texture that makes it a love it or leave it kind of food. But hear me out. If you've been feeling a little sluggish or trying to keep your weight steady without feeling like you're starving all the time, cottage cheese might just be your secret weapon. It's high in casein protein, which your body digests slowly. That means it keeps you fuller, longer. Perfect for those afternoon hours when dinner still feels far away and the cookie jar starts whispering your name. Plus, you can dress it up however you like. Fresh fruit, a sprinkle of cinnamon, chopped nuts, or even a spoonful of salsa if you're feeling bold. It's a blank canvas with real nutritional power behind it. Now for one that's flown under the radar for years but deserves a standing ovation, goat cheese. Goat cheese has a lovely tang, not too strong, not too bland, and it's naturally lower in lactose than cow's milk cheeses. That means if you've been noticing a little more digestive drama after meals, goat cheese might be a gentler alternative, and it's packed with flavor, so you only need a small amount to feel satisfied. Crumble it on salads, spread it on crackers, mix it into a roasted veggie dish. It elevates anything it touches. And here's the heart of it. The older we get, the more important it is to choose foods that work with our bodies, not against them. But that doesn't mean giving up joy. In fact, the joy in food, the comfort, the pleasure, the memories, becomes even more important, especially in these years when a quiet breakfast or a warm lunch can be the highlight of the day.
One of my favorite memories from last winter was visiting my friend Walter. He's 81, lives alone, and has more cookbooks than socks. He made this simple little lunch: warm roasted squash with goat cheese, a few toasted walnuts, and a drizzle of olive oil. That was it. And I swear, it was better than half the fancy restaurants I've been to. He just smiled and said, "I've started eating to feel good, not just full." That stuck with me. So, if you've been wondering why your energy feels off or why your favorite cheese doesn't sit quite right anymore, don't beat yourself up. Your body is just asking for a little adjustment, a gentler approach, a cheese with fewer rough edges. Because food, at its best, should make life feel easier, not harder. And even small swaps, one new cheese, one less processed slice, can make a real difference. So, next time you open the fridge, think of it like picking new companions for the journey ahead. Choose the ones that make you feel your best, because you deserve that every single day. Thanks for spending this time with me. And hey, if anything we talked about today sparked a little curiosity, a little, maybe I'll try that, that's a win in my book. Here's to better bites, better days, and cheese that loves you back.